I know. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Blessings to all of you. Blessings to all of you on Facebook who are watching us. Everyone who's live with us on in the Zoom chat in here in our little Zoom area. You are welcome still to hop in with us. It says my timeout. I went timed out over here on Facebook. Don't know why, but okay. For those of you who watch this later on Facebook or who are listening or watching the recording later, hello, 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 hello. Hello,
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 hello.
hello, hello, everyone. Yes, everyone. Hello, hello. We're all waving at you. So we're saying hi to you. We want you to feel like you're here with us because I know it's hard for a lot of you to be here live. This is a time of day. Sometimes it's difficult to be here live. But we want to bless you and we're excited that you're here with us.
Yes, we
Today might be a little bit special just because somebody's back.
are. So happy to be back.
Brenda, you're back.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, she's back. Greet us. Let's do this old fashioned. Brenda, would you greet us? Tell us how things have been.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
I wish you guys could see the smiles on Facebook. If you could see these ladies' smiles on Zoom, they're like beaming ear to ear to see her back. They don't do that for me, but whatever. Go ahead. Hey, Brenda.
So, ladies, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much.
We're gonna cry.
Prayers and your love and your concern, your gifts, your calls, your emails, your financial support to the family. Just really, I just can't even tell you what a blessing it was for us. So I had the privilege, the honor, the opportunity to walk my mom into the garden a few weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, it was an amazing adventure, and I will not take up a lot of time today to tell you all the amazing things, but I just want to let you know that your love and support during that time was so valuable, and the prayers, and just knowing that I had a community of women who were surrounding and supporting me during the time period where, you know, it was physically difficult, but it was emotionally difficult. And as you all know, I take care of my husband too, so it was kind of like a double portion. And my son came in from Michigan and stayed here in my home, so that the last 2 weeks I was able to be with my mom. And then my family sent me on a vacation for 2 weeks, a respite, so that I could deal with the physical exhaustion that had come upon me. And so it was really good. My doctor insisted, and my friends insisted, that I just take some time and get some sleep. So the first week I was there, I didn't see everybody. I know that there were a lot of people in California I would have loved to have just gone to visit, but it wasn't that. It really was just sleep and recuperation, and grieving and sitting Shiva and being able to just be reconnected. And then the second week was more of downloads from the Holy One and getting prepared and then getting launched back into life. So we're back into life and it's just great. And yesterday was my mom's birthday, so it was really nice to honor her yesterday and be able to spend some time. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be here on Tuesday for Tuesday Talk, but my plane got delayed. And you know, it's so wonderful how the Holy One arranges everything. We think things are just random. No, it's not. That's not what was happening. But I just wanted to say thanks again. Love you all so much. So enough about me. I'm so happy to be here. Can't wait to hear about all the things that the Holy One's been doing in your lives, and to see your faces and hear your voices again. Love you so much. Okay.
So good. It's so good. It's so good. I just sent you a message on chat, but I'll just tell you, I think your microphone is connected to your speakers on you're connected to your computer, not your headset. Oh, gosh, this is such a great thing. I'm going to just do the beginning stuff. I'm going to say a lot of you are saying, I've had a few questions. I did send broadcasted an email out, but a lot of you are like, how can I listen to the portion, or how can my friends listen to the portion? They're not on Facebook. Okay, so let me just go through quick how, because I get how you feel, because
Okay.
there's a lot of times I don't want to have to look for something. I want it to be easy. I just want to like, what can I do? So here's some things. One, obviously, you guys have the links. You can jump on here with us live on Zoom. And if you can't make it live on Zoom, then you can watch live on Facebook. And I want you to know that your friends are welcome to come live on Zoom. You can share this Zoom link. It is not a private link. This is not a members only call. This is for anyone, everywhere, women only. But this is for, you can share this link and say, hey, join us in on Zoom. Like if you have friends who want to join around our table, you don't have to have your camera on. So you don't, some people are like, oh, I don't want you to see me. I'm, a hot mess in the mornings. Um, we don't want to have to see you. That's fine. I mean, we go to hair and makeup before this. We laugh and say, oh, I have to go run to hair and makeup before it's time to come in.
Yeah.
But, so that's one way. Sydney just posted the link right now for the Zoom link. Copy paste it somewhere. That does not change. You can share it with your girlfriends. Remember, the password is Isha. So there's your that way. Also, in the portion on the Facebook group, if you want to watch the recordings and that's how you want to watch it, if you go up to the scroll up to the top of the page where you can see the header, it says guides. They changed the name. It used to say something else, but now it says guides. I don't know why. You click on guides, you'll see that there's, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff in there. And the biggest thing is in there is all the recordings are in there. So you know what you don't have to do? Scroll through all of Facebook to try to find where is that silly recording. You can just go to guides and you'll see it says the portion and you can pick the date you want to listen to. So there's those ways. You can also listen to us by podcast. If you want to get that podcast link, get a hold of us. Say, I need that podcast link. I've sent it out on an email. Check your email. I did send the link out this week. So you could click on that and download that to your phone if you like want to just listen on the go while you're like mowing the lawn. Ugh. Hope, I don't even know why I said that. So there's the you can listen to it by podcast. I don't even hear a lawnmower. I don't even know where that came from. And then you can listen on the recordings or watch the videos if you're like, I want to watch the videos, but I'm not on Facebook, or my friends aren't on Facebook and they really want to watch it like on their Shabbat or whatever. You can go into the rootedcafe.com, KAFE, and put login. Use your email address that you use to sign in to the portion, and then just click forgot my password, because you probably don't have a password. Put forgot my password. You'll get an email with your password. Then you sign in, and guess what's going to pop up? The portion. It's going to pop up in your little library. You don't have to be a member for that. That's what you'll have in your library. Now, members have 40 gajillion things in there, but you'll have a little thing. It'll say the portion. And guess what? When you click on that, I should do this for you. But you'll get on there, you'll see, oh my goodness, you open it up and there's all the portions in there, all forever and ever. You can just listen to them forever. They also have an Audible download if you want to just download the Audible. Also in there's the Blue Letter Bible for Not So Dummies is also in that, would be in there. So you would have two cute little things in your library. Is that enough, Brenda? Is that all?
I think that sounds great. Sarita wanted to know so she can invite her friends to join in to Zoom in the portion with us. So what you're saying is you don't have to be a member of the portion.
No, because there's a lot of people who are not. They're not. We can mute them if we don't like them. I'm just kidding. We have anyone is welcome around our kitchen table.
But we mean it. We have the power.
We trust you. We trust you. You're not going to ask crazy people to come in here, but please feel free to, hey, oh my gosh, we're in this really great study right now. Come join around the kitchen table with us.
Yes.
Anyone can join us.
Yes.
Not every, we don't want to be Facebook dependent. So that's why I'm spending so much time on this. So for those of you who are listening recordings later, you're like, oh God, would she finish already? I think I have that in my checklist. I have my checklist. My next checklist is, I want to just say that
I love your checklist.
One of the big, you read my checklist. For me, one of the biggest reasons. So doing this for a long time, for those of you, go get your coffee or something. You've probably heard me say this 100 times. You're like, I'm tired of you saying it. But if you're new, I'll speak for myself. I spent years. I studied, used First Fruits of Zion is how I first started. I won't go through the whole testimony. Then I sat under a specific teacher for quite a long time. And I always felt like if I ask a question, I always felt like the dumb person in the room. Like I felt like if I asked the question, it was like, oh, that's easy. We'll just do it. It was all, not that they were, I'm not blaming someone. No one was dismissive of me. It was my own ideas that everyone else was smarter and everyone else knew how to do it. And I didn't know how to do it. And I was too embarrassed to ask, or I was too embarrassed to ask how to say it because they thought, oh, she should know that. She was a pastor. Doesn't she know this? And so what happened was, as a spinoff of us doing this portion around, Brenda and I just did this around the table, and now it's virtual table. What spun out of this was me thinking, you know what, there's probably other women just like me who
Right.
you might have been doing this for a long time, but there's still stuff you just don't know. Or maybe you just got started and you're too embarrassed to ask some questions. And so that's the reason we started the Rooted Cafe. So the people who want to know, it was for me. It was just for me because I needed to know some answers to things, and I needed a safe place to ask some of you who are smarter than me, what does that mean and how do you do it? Because I don't know how, and I didn't. We don't go, live with a Jewish family that teaches us how to do all the things, and so I just needed a place, and there was
Right.
no place.
Right.
So what happens? You have to make a
Mhm.
place.
That's right.
So we've been building this plane as it's taking off in the last year. So you're like, oh, this change and this change. Well, thank you for your patience. We love you and your grace, because truly this was just because I don't know all the things and I need someone to help teach me all the things. And so as we're walking through this and we're trying to like grab bolts as they're falling off the plane and hurry up so that we're travel worthy,
Oops, we
we
forgot the
love you all for
seatbelts.
that. Yeah, no, seriously. So we
Really.
love your input. So we're asking for surveys. That's why we're asking that. And I say all that to lead to this. I wanted to have a place where we could have a conference where women could show up, teach us things, and I could grab things from this if I had been doing this a long time, or if I just started yesterday, or I'm still, I just am curious. Don't want anything to do with this messianic Christian thing, or I don't want it messy Hebrew roots thing, or whatever your label is. I just want to learn about the Jewishness of my Savior. I just want to know, what did Jesus do? Maybe that's why you're here. And I want you to feel loved, and I want you to know that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we do a conference every quarter as well. So we have teachers coming in to teach on different things. So
Yes.
this quarter, we're doing it literally like almost the last day of the quarter. But this quarter, our conference is called While She Waits. And our beautiful Tamara was sharing with me yesterday, and I was like, and of course I scrapped everything I was doing and turned all the graphics, everything around. That's why there's a wait on the t-shirt, because she said, isn't it beautiful? There's a time of the betrothal, and then you have this waiting period between the betrothal and then the time of the wedding feast. And there's this time, and all I just had these flashes of your brides waiting and waiting, and like, you got your dress and you got your shoes and you got all the things and you're so excited, and you have to wait. You know, you try your dress on every once in a while and walk around the house, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to get it dirty. I can't do that. So, there's things that happen during this time, making sure your dress is
Right.
without spot or wrinkle, or making sure these
Mhm.
things happen. Right, Brenda? And so,
Yeah.
so we're doing this conference is happening. We have 4 amazing speakers coming in. One of them is Dr. Dina Dye. She'll be our keynote speaker that'll be coming in. This is June 27th. Registration will begin next week. It will be available. And we have breakout sessions. So we have a lot of familiar people to you. You'll be able to choose breakout sessions in the middle of the day. It is all day long. So does that matter because you can't make all day? No, because guess what? We are not going to do it live to Facebook. We are not going live to Facebook just because it's really hard. I'll just tell you, it's a
It's a lot
lot.
of work.
So we're just
It's a
live
lot
to
of work.
Zoom. So it's just like if you you got a ticket and you went to a conference place and you sat down in your seat and you watched a conference and you had breaks and you had breakout sessions. It's just going to be virtually. So I want you to keep that in mind. And what we'll also have available is just like at those conferences, Brenda, we're going to have a table in the back, and
Yeah.
you too can get the videos to this conference.
Right.
You too can get, hey, I want all the videos and I want the breakout sessions because I can't go to all of it. Or, oh my goodness, everything that she said was so amazing. I only got a minute of it because I checked out after that one sentence she started talking. So I need those recordings. If you're in the cafe, you get all of those recordings will be in your library. That's included in your membership. For those of you not, there will be an all access pass. We always have those available. So anyone you guys want, you can tell them about that if they can't show up live. The conference is free,
Mm.
free. The gospel is free. Spreading it to the nations is not. So we to cover that cost, we do charge for your videos that you will purchase at the back of the
Sure.
room.
Yeah.
So also known as a link at the bottom of a page. So does that do that good? Is that well?
At the book table.
I think I did.
At the book
At the book table. Yes, you will get a printed book. There will be workbook. It's going to be fun. We're going to have coloring pages. I mean, we're making the workbook fun for you every time. We love your suggestions afterwards, and it's not too late if you have one. Now we could probably squeeze it in. So I'm done.
Wow, that was a
Shalach lecha.
lot. Shelach lecha.
It's busy. I know.
Man,
Numbers
this is
13:1 through 15:4. Yeah.
This is an amazing Torah portion. I know you've never heard me ever say that before, but this is an amazing Torah portion. This is the type of Torah portion that you read and you read it over and over and over. It's only 3 chapters, and you read it over and over and over and over. And every time it's like you're starting fresh, and you're like, there's so much, so deep. There's so many hyperlinks, guys. It's taking us back to the beginning. It's taking us back to Genesis 1. It's amazing. I'm excited, Charlie. Let's get started.
Can I say Revelations? It's like through Revelations. There's prophetic words in here, which we hear Job talking about these same prophetic words that we hear in Revelations about when he's talking about the spirits and about how things in our hearts. We hear Yeshua talking about it. Oh, sorry. It's my timer to take my medication. Okay. So
take it.
Can we there is a you guys still pray for me. I'm still dealing with vertigo. We're on week 4. Ugh.
Sissy, I'm so sorry.
So in this is really crazy. So I might turn my head. I might just do this a minute.
Woo.
This is really fun because the word shalach, then, and it doesn't, some of your Bibles or some of your things may not have the lecha at the end, because he's saying it's to send them out. The shalach is shin lamed het. And it was given with permission, Brenda, right? I mean, I always thought you read it and it says, and Adonai said, send some people. And you're thinking, oh, he told him to send some spies. And I even said, well, why did he let that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
so yeah, the sages are saying it, God already told them the land was theirs. And so he said to Moses, basically, if you want to send them, send them. And if you're going to send them, this is who you're going to send. Right. We get that in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, in Deuteronomy 1:22, we are going to see Moshe talking back to the people and said, hey, you approached me asking to send men into the land.
Yeah.
And then we have the Holy One comes back and says, well, if you please, or if you want, you may send men, meaning he's giving them permission. You may, if you want, I'm going to give you permission. He didn't command them to go. They were saying, hey, we want to go. We want to see what's going on. Like,
investigate. That was a good word. That investigate. Word. Spy.
Yes.
Investigate. What does that say?
Yeah. There's a lot here. Before we're going to pop in the S word in a minute, because that's where the whole overlying meeting is on this one. But they send him out. Before we get the report back, we get a little tidbit jumped in there saying then we get the names of the people, and it says, oh, and this is Hoshea, son of Nun. Oh yeah, we changed his name to Joshua.
Right.
I mean, it was like I passed over that dude. I went, wait a minute, what?
Wait, hold on a minute.
That get put in there? Why don't I remember that? And because I'm in menopause, that's why. I read a book last night, by the way, that had notes on it. And I was like, did they print these notes all in here? But they were my notes. Like I thought the book was printed with notes. And I was like, oh, that's really good. That's a good thought. Oh, wait, I wrote that. That's me. That's my hand. I'm embarrassed. Welcome to menopause. Okay. So Joshua's name, it's interesting. I'm just going to go quick on this one, but Hoshea to Yehoshua.
Mm-hmm.
So Hoshea means salvation. Guess what they added? They added a yod to it. So yod gets added. Hoshea, all they did is add a yod.
Right. And what did that do?
Yes. It's changed the word from salvation to the Lord saves.
Yeah, it
It
puts the
connected
emphasis
him
on
to the
God.
salvation.
Yeah.
Yes, not him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
It's a
added it. And also
declaration.
yes, yeah. And we're gonna see, we know that Jesus is actually short for Joshua, right? That's
Hmm.
Yehoshua. So this is all of this, and we're talking now about Joshua, Yehoshua. When we start talking about him, we can also see him as another form of Messiah. It's just paying little attentions to things he does and what happens.
Hyperlinks.
Go back and be like, "Oh, hyperlinks. Oh, he was the one that went up the mountain with Moshe. He's the one who stayed and waited for him the whole time. He's the one
Hmm.
who camped in the tent before the tabernacle was built. He stayed with him in the tent. He was there in
Yeah,
the tent. There's a lot happening with this guy. So
a
we're introduced
lot.
to him. We're introduced to
Yeah.
Caleb. I mean, really, we're talking about Caleb here, which sages say that Caleb was not Hebrew. That technically he was not. He was grafted in. Um, he was not technically Hebrew. That's what they say. They say, but he was one of the ones. He went around to. It's interesting. He's the one who got the. He was the one who got the inheritance of Horeb, right? So he gets the inheritance where
Hebron.
Abraham
Right.
Hebron, I mean,
Yeah.
he
That.
got he
Yep.
got that inheritance. So this is what hit my spirit last night about that. We're just hitting trivial things right now because we got something pretty deep to talk about.
Trivial.
The the S word. So we'll talk about some trivial things right now. Is that I was thinking, this is me thinking. It's gonna be scary.
Okay, I'm
So
scared.
if Caleb and Yehoshua, they're like he's the branch and the other one's like the wild branch. He's like the one grafted in and he kind of represents us. This is my thought. Isn't it interesting that he's the one who got the inheritance? That's where he ended up being able to live. It was him being adopted in, that being given the land. Um, good question, Sarita. What do you mean by sages? Um,
Sages are the wise, usually rabbis of the time, the people that we look to for wisdoms and well, wisdom. Yeah, those are sages. So they're the people that have been instructed and taught, and generationally things are being passed down to them. They're being trained up in the wisdom of Torah, and so they're called sages. So, and
yeah.
they have a
Brenda,
lot
are
to
you a sage?
say.
We're sages.
No.
Like no, we are not sages.
Girl.
Just saying, we
Silly
are not
Willy.
sages.
Yeah, no, these
But yeah,
are,
they have been.
yeah.
Most would say rabbis, almost all that I know
Mhm.
that were and they're
Yeah,
vetted out.
yeah,
So we're saying
right,
these are
right.
men or women, whatever, that have been
Mhm.
vetted out,
Yes,
and
yeah,
this is what has been oral Torah that has been passed down. That people are saying, um, I've read a fun books about Caleb. I've listened to there's a fun I listened to an Audible book about Caleb, and it was fictional, historical fiction, but they went with
fun.
the premise that he was outside the camp, but he got grafted into Judah, the tribe of Judah. Isn't that interesting? So if you go back and look at who his father was, that's the reason these lineages are here,
Yeah,
and we'll not do that right now, but you can look at who his father was and go back and see who his father was. I thought I wrote that down, but I didn't. Um, you can see that his father was
Yefuna,
actually yes, was actually not originally from the tribe of Judah, and he was from not Hebrew. He was not from one of the tribes. And
right.
he came with the mixed multitude that came out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. Yeah, so we got
Interesting
this Yod
thoughts, huh?
thing added
I
to
know, right, Sarita?
Joshua. Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I love when you guys ask those questions. That's again, let's go back to why I was saying earlier. That's why we're here, because we want a safe place for you to go. I have no clue what this means.
Yeah.
You hear me all the
Look,
time. What does that
yeah,
even mean? Like, how do you say that?
yeah.
I don't even know.
Lori Dunn said
Okay.
that sages are the people who do the commentaries on the Torah. Yeah, because they're the wise ones who've been
Yeah.
raised up in the Torah, who've been vetted out, trained up. Some of them are really, really good, and some of them are a little cuckoo, crazy, a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
You'll hear people talk
As
about
with us.
Rashi, right? Yeah, we're the kooky side. You'll hear people talk about Rashi. Rashi is one people refer to all the time.
Yes.
Like they'll say, well,
Yes.
Rashi said, Rashi said, that kind of thing. So very cool prophetic. And again, that was just my own little thinking about Caleb. Does he
Yes.
represent all of us who are grafted in? And he
Mhm.
got the inheritance of that land. And the reason he got it was because it said he was of a different spirit. Numbers 14:24. You hear him talk, and he's, I'm spending some time in that, and I will also tomorrow. But I actually even was messaging Gail early this morning. Is there an ancient Near East thing about being of a different spirit? And there's not.
Yeah.
That she knew of.
Yeah.
But other than that, he had he didn't have the spirit of rebellion. He didn't have that spirit in him.
Yeah.
His spirit was longing for the Holy One.
Yes.
He had a spirit that wanted everything. He said, he had the spirit of Ruth. Your people be my people. Your God be my God. Wherever you go, I'll go. He had that spirit. And so because he had that, Joshua isn't mentioned that. Oh, I feel like Caleb is mentioned in this because he was grafted in. You'll have to look that up. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like that's what I felt in my spirit when I was reading it, was that the reason that he was singled out to say this about him was because, Joshua, we've already know who he is. We've already seen all of him. And so it's like, no, Caleb is different. He's different. He comes from a different lineage. He has a different spirit. He's not like these other people who are causing this revolt that's happening. And some people would say, Brenda, that these were just a bunch of realists. They're just being real, Brenda. They're coming back and saying, hey, and we think, oh, look they're bringing the bounty in. Hey, party time. I got the grapes. I've got the figs. I've got this stuff. It was not a party. The reason they were bringing these big things was to show them big food, big, giant people. Big, scary food, big, scary people. It wasn't about them celebrating the harvest of the land. They were actually, and Joshua and Caleb didn't bring anything back. It was only the 10 spies that brought something back. They brought back the report that was not the report of the Lord. It was the report that they're too big. We can't do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You must have made a mistake, God. And this is where we're going to go crazy. This is going to get good. I think I want to say too about the eyes. I'm sorry. The eyes, they said that we were like grasshoppers, that, they just didn't know who they were.
Right.
Yeah. They just didn't know who they were.
Does it sound familiar? Wait, does it sound familiar? Come on. We can't say them. We got to say us.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen today, guys. So get ready, because I got my honey whooped. My tater tots got fried on this
one.
Fried. My tater tots were fried on this one. Not in the air fryer either. It wasn't gentle. So it says that he says it devoured the land devours them. Brenda, we talked about this. It wasn't just, they weren't saying this land was devouring them because it was so big. What were they saying?
It's interesting because we're reading this. We're reading the story of what they were told to do. So Moses gives them instructions. Okay. So he says to them, okay, go out and check this out. And these are the things that I want you to look at. And he's saying, is the land good? Or is it fertile, or is it not fertile? He's telling them to look at these things, right? So what they do is they see everything as overwhelming. And you know what hit me this morning, Charlie, was it's like in the Garden of Eden. Let's go back to Genesis 1. In the garden, when Eve was checking out the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, right? She's checking that out. And she's checking it out with her eyes, and she's seeing with her eyes, this looks like it would be good. This looks like it would be really good for me to take part of. And that's what hit me with the spies, the investigators. They're going out to check things out. Well, wait a minute. What was the motivation of checking things out? Was it to prove God? Was it to see if he was telling the truth?
Yeah, he wasn't saying, look how big the people are.
No, not at all. And nope. And so this is what hit me. They saw everything with their eyes, as we do. Okay, come on, let's be realistic. We're in the middle of massive circumstances right now. A lot of things are happening. We're looking around. We hit the news. We hear our neighbors talking. There's all kinds of things. We go to the gas station, the gas has gone up. Groceries, there's stuff missing off the shelves of the grocery store. You know, we have friends that are unemployed, or we're unemployed, or, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. And our temptation as human beings is to begin looking at things with our eyes, because we look with our eyes and we say, let me discern whether this is good or bad with my eyes. Let me discern. Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Are we supposed to be discerning with our eyes? And that's what happened.
Let me just take another bite. Let me just take another bite from the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil tree. And while I'm chewing on this apple,
right.
Those people look big.
Exactly. Hold on a minute. That's right.
I can't do that.
The giants are here. The Nephilim are here. The, you know, people are 7 to 9 feet tall. And exactly. And there's a lot of them, and they're at the sea, and they're at the, and by the way, can I just say, like, okay, Halisa referenced this in one of her teachings, Charlie. Maybe you can remember it better than I did, but I can. But you guys, this is all supernatural. You realize that the amount of land that they covered was not possible for them to cover in the amount of time that they were gone. It was not physically possible for them to do that. And so this is very, very supernatural. So they were seeing the land, they were seeing the mountains, they were seeing the sea, they were seeing this city, they were seeing this city, they were here. There was something else going on here. There's a lot going on here. But remember that what we're being told is we're just being given little glimpses, and we're just being given little tiny glimpses of what was going on. But bottom line, can we just stop and just do a baseline, Charlie? Who's your daddy?
Yeah.
Who is the sovereign king? Who is the creator of the heavens and the earth? Who put the stars in the sky? Who separated the land from the waters? Who decided that fruit trees were going to come forth and produce fruit? Who decided that the seed was going to be inside the trees? Who decided that it was going to regenerate generation after generation after generation? Who decided? Who decided all of that? Whose land is it? It is the Holy One's land. Yud He Vav He. It is the Holy One's land. It is his to do with as he chooses. And in the moment of this story, what was being allowed to happen was that all of those people were occupying the land because that's what they were allowed to do. They were being allowed to occupy that land. That's not a huge, you know, like, what? These people are in the land? But wait a minute, God's giving us the land. Right. He's giving them the land, but the people that were there at that particular time were the ones that were in the land, taking care of the land, maybe not taking care of the land, you know, doing good, maybe not doing good. You know, that's not the issue. But the issue is, whose land was it? It was God's land. He created it. It was his and his alone to decide who was going to live on that land. And he said, I am going to take you as my own. You're going to be my people. I'm going to be your God. I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to send you into this land of milk and honey, meaning, that's a metaphor, milk and honey, meaning that it's going to be fruitful for your animals. It's going to be fruitful with vegetation. It's going to be fruitful with fruit trees, land flowing with milk and honey. The sages say that it was the dates, not the bees, but the dates, the honey from the dates of the trees. But the point of all of that is that the land was flowing with bountiful, beautiful, phenomenal produce. Grapes bigger than people, you know, like beautiful produce. And so he didn't say, go out there and see if maybe this might work out. The Holy One didn't say that. He said, I'm giving you that land. End of subject. It's mine, and I'm going to give it to you. And so what happened was that the people started seeing things with their eyes. And we know that whenever we do that, whenever we view our circumstances with our natural eyes, we start seeing things and we start believing things that maybe he isn't saying. Okay. You lose your job. You think I have no provision. Is that the truth? Who is your provider? Is your job your provider?
Yes.
Because if your job is your provider, yes, you lost your provision. But if
Yeah.
God is your provider, it is his requirement to provide for you, and he will. And he's proven that. And that's kind of what was happening here. So there's a story and there's a backstory and there's even a further backstory back to Genesis 1. How are you
Yes.
going to respond? That's why, and Charlie, you mentioned this earlier. Excuse me. That's why the 10 spies were not allowed to go into the land. They would have polluted the land because of their hearts. And that's
That was
why
grace.
it was the grace of God, because there's a plan for the land and you're not supposed to slander the land. And them saying that that it was not available for them to walk into, that God was not big enough to handle the enemies that were there, them saying that would pollute the land. That would pollute the fruit of the land. What
Yes.
comes out of our mouth? We just learned from Miriam last week. What comes out of our mouth, it makes a difference. How we
Well, what happens is we see in Yeshua, we see this author, there's a hyperlink to the New Testaments. How many times did Yeshua say we're supposed to guard our eyes? Job said, I had to guard my eyes from looking at the maiden. That wasn't just like, the whole point of looking at something with pride is about looking at something and taking ownership of it with your eyes.
Yeah, as if that's yours to do and it's not.
It's not.
Stepping over
so
the
you're
boundary.
looking at something with your eyes, and then your eyes go to your heart, and then out of the abundance of the heart, what happens? Your mouth speaks. So what happened? What they saw, they went to their heart, and it was the way they were viewing things. And another look at this whole, the land will overtakes them. They were also living in this little love bubble. That's true. They're living in the love bubble with the Holy One.
Yeah.
And now if they go into this land, it's going to violate it's like, wait a minute, no. They're going to go in there and they're seeing that there's a lot of pagan stuff going on, and that paganness overtakes them. And maybe they were concerned that they would get in there and it would defile them, like it would just overtake them, and they would end up being assimilated into that, because they were told not to assimilate, right? They were supposed to just get in there, occupy, get in that, But
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, they ended up wanting to go back to Egypt. So, I mean, really?
Well,
I don't know about that theory, but hey.
Right. But it's kind of like what the disciples teach us in the New Testament, and what Paul's teaching us in the New Testament. It's kind of like, we have a choice to make when circumstances we are facing circumstances. We have a choice to make. In those moments, we have a choice to make. And what he's saying is, hey guys, I am Adonai. Remember what does he always start off with? I am Adonai, your God. Hey, remember me? Hold on. I am Adonai, your God. And this is what I'm going to do. And when we follow him and we put our eyes upon him, when we put our eyes upon the lamb that was slain before the foundation of the world, when we keep our eyes on him, we see things differently. So that's what he's asking us in all of this. He's showing us what happens in real world. I mean, you can insert yourself in here, pick a person.
Yeah.
Insert yourself. Right. I'm inserted in here, trust me. And so he's saying you have the option to do that, but what is the fruit of that? This is all about fruit. This is all about producing fruit. This is all about seeds producing fruit, seeds producing seeds, like kind, right? So what were the seeds that they were going to be producing when they saw how difficult the circumstances were in the land? What happened to them? It caused their hearts to be faint. Why? Because they took their eyes off of the Holy One. So hyperlink, Peter stepping on the water, takes his eyes off of Yeshua, boom. Okay. It's the same thing. It's like when we get our eyes off.
I'm thinking of our mindset ladders. Like I take people through this mindset ladder where I'm like, okay, what's the fact? If many of you've gone through this with me, what's the truth? What's the fact? Well, the fact is there was a lot of people in the land.
Yes.
Like, okay. That's the fact. There's nothing that there were people, they were giants. They were bigger than you. Right. Yes, this is going to be work. Yes, this is okay. That's a fact. So then now my heart, what's my thoughts about that? My thoughts are, should go right back to what I know. Like I should go get historical, not hysterical, right? So what do I know? I know that God is sovereign. I said the S word already. I know that God is sovereign.
Yes.
I know that he gave it. So whatever he promises, he will provide for. This is what I
100%.
know. And then what happens then, my feelers, because they're all in cahoots, right?
Yeah.
And my mouth, it's all in cahoots with each other. So what happens then is then that will change. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to act differently. I'm going to speak differently, because if I align my thoughts, the fact doesn't change. But what does have my thoughts? I need to change how I think about it.
Right.
And if so a man thinketh, right,
Mm-hmm.
becomes in his heart, and then that's what he does, and that's what he says. I mean, literally, they're all in cahoots. So we do have to do a mindset work. This is not new and new age woo woo. This is biblical.
Mm-mm.
Like we need to get our thinking caps on, right? Because we don't want to miss the promises, because we don't want to pollute the land. It's more about even that. We should love other people, that I don't want to walk into situations and I'm going to pollute this situation based on my stinking thinking.
Oh, that's so good, Charlie. You know, did you get the feeling, guys, all of you, when you were reading this portion this week, did you get that feeling of community? Like that just hit me so heavy. Like this is all about community. We're not supposed to be leaving one another out. You know, Caleb and Joshua, you know, they could have been the only two sent out, but they weren't. They went out as a community. They went out with their brothers, with the princes of the tribes, with probably the most righteous ones of the tribes, representing every tribe. That's who was going. The representatives that were hand chosen to represent the tribes. And so this is about community, and everything from this Torah portion, all 3 chapters, it's all about community. It's all about a believing what God says versus believing what we see with our eyes, which is, you know, real world. This is life. This is everyday life. It's all about not letting anyone go, like walking in community, walking arm in arm. Even when you're giving, you know, we'll get into this later, but even with the challah, pulling off the challah, baking that challah, and what they were to do was to give it to the Cohens. Why? Because 9 of them had just been, I mean, 9 of the leaders of the tribes had just been died off in a plague, right? Or 10, I'm sorry, 10 of them just died off in a plague. So the provision maybe for the tribes was depleted, but then God's showing them, this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you have community. You give. It's just so, it's all about community. This is not about one person. If it was just about one person, then Moses would have just gone into the land, or Joshua would have just gone into the land, or Caleb would have just gone into the land and said, oh yeah, it's cool, let's go. But that's not what happened. It's about community. And how do we walk in community? And when someone is murmuring, what do we do about it? Do we encourage them to continue murmuring? Or do we do like Jacob and Caleb?
My favorite, you know, I shouldn't be talking about this.
I mean,
I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say this. Well, now you are like premeditated. Like you are like, you cannot go fall under unintentional. You are not in unintentional sin. You have now entered intentional sin. And let's just say the price is higher.
Yeah.
So if you note to self, if you start any sentence with, and I'm telling myself this was, I told you my taters got fried. If
heats up,
if you have to say, ooh, I probably shouldn't say this, then you guess what? Don't say it. And I just had to say that out loud for myself. So if I ever listen to the recording, I can tell myself this again. Don't say it. If you tell I should probably tell you this. Yeah.
Don't say it.
You'll hear me be like, I have permission to tell you this. did get permission to tell you this.
Yeah.
You know, are we going to jump in? Gail did a most amazing, it's one of my favorite Parsha points that she wrote. For those in the cafe.
So good.
Stop, put everything on pause, and go read the Parsha point. Or whatever. You have to read the Parsha point this week, because I don't feel like, Brenda, you can understand this Parsha unless you understand the ancient Near East perspective. I don't think you get it.
No,
I didn't.
We really don't. No, we really don't. And that's okay. That's okay, because it's not in our culture. So that's why we study, and that's why we listen to a lot. That's why we have a lot of different people. and we listen to a lot of different people, and we all participate. That's what this is about. So yeah. And so Gail blesses our socks off, because she is seriously,
and it is part of the membership in the cafe, and she just does a great job, and it isn't hard to read. She makes it very user friendly. Even I can read it. So she does it at a great reading level, so it's easy to understand. So for those of you that, and if you're not members, we just drop the price down to $19.99, because we do have to cover all the platforms we pay for to serve all that goes in there. But you go, and it's packed full of stuff. But she wrote this, and you guys were talking about the sovereignty, and you shared with me part of your conversation with her. And I love, could you share about the daylight savings time, the analogy that you two were talking about?
Yeah,
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, the okay, so the ancient Near East perspective, basically what's happening in this is that when the Torah was being written, what the Holy One did, because he's so good to us. So what he did was he used the legal system that was in place at the time, so that people would understand, they would be able to understand where he was coming from. So he used the legal system, and he used legal terms and legal terminology, and that's what he did. If you don't know what the legal terminology of the time was, if you don't understand it, it's like daylight savings times. It's like if you say to somebody, "Oh, is that Central or is that Eastern?" Well, those of us that are here in North America, we understand that. But if you talk to somebody,
unless you're me and you're going
between time zones, but if you talk to somebody that is in another country that doesn't use daylight savings times, and you say, "Oh, well, it's daylight savings time, our clock went back an hour," what does that mean? And that's the same thing as like with the ancient Near East perspective. We have to infuse that so that we understand what is being written, why it's being written, and why it matters. For example, a king could offer land to someone who was a lower king, or a vassal king, or he could offer it to somebody else. And he had the power, because he owned the land. He had the power to impart that land to somebody. And when he used the legal terminology, give, I will give, in Hebrew, natan, I will give you the land, it was irrevocable. So what happened was, the Holy One in Egypt said, "I will give you the land." So the premise is, he is the sovereign king. He created the land. He is the only one that can give it. And he gave it and said, "This is your land." And fast forward, they're out in the wilderness learning how to prepare for the occupancy. They're at Mount Sinai, learning who he is, learning all about him, learning how to walk as a community, learning how to be the children of the Most High, and to prepare for occupancy. But when they had the opportunity to go out and see the land, what happened was they got fearful, and they saw it with their natural eyes. And they said, "Oh, I'm scared. It's not going to work. They're going to kill us. They're going to eat us." But the king, when the king is your ruler and sovereign, it is his responsibility to protect you. And so what they were saying is, "God, you're not able to protect us." And that's what we say. That's what we say when we say, "Well, I've got to do this myself because God's not showing up." We're saying, "You're not able to provide or protect us." And that's really what's happening.
I think it's deeper even. I think he's
Yes, of
saying,
course.
they were also saying, you don't have the authority to give us the land.
Well, and that's a whole nother attitude.
King, right? I mean, like, I feel like it was like, that was how flagrant it was. It wasn't just like, oh, they were grumbling and complaining. We act like that. Oh, well, be careful. No, it was deeper. They were saying, because if we, grabbing onto that ancient Near East perspective and saying, if a king is sovereign and he gives you land, it's your land. If you truly believed he was king and you truly believed he had the power to give you that, you'd march all in there all chest all broad and be like, yep,
Well,
it's my land. And you'd put your flag
yeah.
down because you'd be like, this
Right.
is mine. And you wouldn't care who was there because my king's bigger than your king. And
Yeah.
he's going to get in here and he will get you out of here. If you really believe that. So I feel like when they came back, they were just being like, yeah, yeah, because they would have understood. We're Westerners. We don't understand how land is purchased differently. We haven't had a king in a long time, and not in our memory banks or even our probably great grandparents' memory banks, unless you just like came over from a country your
Right.
first generation or second generation here. Then you would know. You don't understand what it's like to live under a kingship. But if you truly understood what it was like to be a king, and that king says, grant you the land and says, I'm going to take care of this for you, and says, here you go, there ain't nothing separating you from that land. It's yours. And
Right.
I just really felt this, like it was so like they
Flagrant,
went in and they're like, no, these people are like occupying, like they are like rooted in. These guys are big. I think not even just giants, like their size and that everything was, they had big food and big, but it was like they went in looking, saying, are you king? Like, is this really yours to give? I don't think this is really your land to give, because it looks like it's their land to give, and they're not going to give it up.
Yeah. And so they
And
saw
you
with
have
their
Caleb.
eyes.
Caleb had a different spirit. Joshua had a different spirit. They went in saying, they had their flag and they're like ready. They're like, yep.
Yeah. Caleb silenced the people around Moses and said, we ought to go up immediately and take possession of it. There is no question that we can conquer it. He knew. He knew right then. And the 10 were saying, there's no way. There's no way. But Joshua and Caleb were saying, there's no way that we can't win, because God is for us. And it's
not their land.
It's his land, and he's given it to us. And wait a minute, hold on. They're still getting manna every morning. They're still getting manna. They're still under the cloud. They're still covered. They still have fire at night. You guys, they're living in the supernatural, as are we. Yes. And yet they're choosing to look with their eyes, and they're choosing to allow their senses to be, which, we'll get into that, but the ayin, the letter, the ayin is your senses. It's your eyes and your soul. It's living by your natural, looking through your natural ears and eyes and tastes. It's like only seeing things in the natural, and
we're to walk by faith, not by sight.
Right.
We have that verse. I mean, our hyperlink again, when when we hear that verse, to walk by faith and not by sight, this is a hyperlink back to this parsha saying they were living by their sight. This is happening.
I would really encourage you as you read this, and maybe, tonight and tomorrow, because tomorrow's the Shabbat. Tomorrow you could even read this over again if you haven't had a chance. But when you read this, just step back and read the whole thing, and then look at it like, Father, what were you trying to say? And how does this work for me? How does this relate to me in my life? How do I apply this in my life? Are there things that I'm seeing with my eyes that are not being, hold on a second. There we go.
I got it.
Okay. Are there things that are in my life right now that I'm not seeing with your spirit? Am I walking in my flesh and only seeing with what's in my eyes? Father, how do I do this? How can I step back and have this different ruach, which would not be that of the flesh, but the ruach of the spirit, to see the circumstances the way that you see them? And I just dropped this. It's a challenge, but it's real world. This is real. These Torah portions are about us living our life right now, here and now. These are not about just things that happened in the ancient days. This is about how we live right this minute. Oh, it's beautiful, and
it's
how
so
we
big.
can do it together.
It's so big. And we have to look at Israel now. I know it was, again, I want to make sure Gail gets credit for all the things I read in her parsha point, was that
100%.
that we look at Israel now and we're saying, oh no, they're dividing the land up. Oh no, that's their land. That's not their land. Oh, that's their land. we see all this happening now, and we have to just be like, he's sovereign. He
Right.
knows who he gave the land to. We
Right.
can't question that even now. And it
Right.
can't be the United States can't come in with big strong arms and that they say, oh, I trust in the United States horses and chariots. They
Mm-mm.
have to trust in the name of the Lord. They have to be isolated to the point again where they believe, and we have to be like, no, we have to stand with Israel. Of course we stand with Israel. Of course we pray for the peace of Israel. Of course, but when you see everyone pulling away from them, you have to know that he is sovereign, and he
Yes.
wants to bring them back to a place where they look up and they only have him to depend on. They're not depending on any other nation to do anything for them. We support them. Your hearts can be with
100%.
them wherever
Yes.
he calls you, everything,
Yes.
whatever, all those things. But don't fret. Don't look at the giants. Don't look at what's happening. Remember, this
Right.
is their land. And I looked up, Brenda, I think it's really interesting that I love when we said that, they were not, this generation was not allowed to enter then into the land.
Mm-mm.
This was a gift. That was
Mm-hmm.
a gift, because you couldn't let that go in there. You couldn't let people go in there who weren't
No.
trusting who was king.
Right. That's right.
Do that. You had to have
Yeah.
the Joshua and Caleb generation be the
Mm-hmm.
ones. You had to let those be the ones who brought him in, who they were saying, we know the mighty hand of God, and we know who this
Yes.
is. And he tells us, he dives down. Well, he says 7 generations. He chases after us.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before. The 7 meaning just until it's complete, right?
Right.
I'm going to go after you until this thing is completed. And it
Yeah.
may look like I'm wiping out a generation. That's not the case. It's my
Mm-mm.
grace,
Mm-hmm.
so that my mission, my will, it's all accomplished. So those gifts are accomplished, right?
That's right. And he will
Yeah,
never,
I
will
mean,
never stop visiting. He will visit. We get scared when it says that he's going to visit the generations. The sins of the fathers are going to visit the generations. In this it says four generations, whatever, 4 or 7. It's visiting the generations, but we have to understand that's because of his grace. That's because he loves us. That's because he's after us. That's because he won't give up on us. So he will visit every generation. That thing is not dealt with in this generation. He's going to visit the next generation, and he is going to address that in the next generation, in your children, in your grandchildren, in your great grandchildren. If something is coming through the bloodlines, he will address it over and over and over, and give opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for healing and restoration, because he's about redemption. He is about redemption. And that's where we have to settle back in on, who is he? When we start getting afraid, who is he? Just stop.
Yeah.
Who is he? And what has he done for you? Oh, he's rescued you. He's saved you. He's redeemed you. He's called you by his name. He has given you his cloak of righteousness. He has clothed you. That's who you are, and your generation to come. He's going to do the same for them. He's going to go after them and visit them and visit them and visit them, and not leave them alone. So it may take a while, but he's not in a hurry.
Yeah, visiting the sins of the generation, you can just take that verse alone and be like, okay, the sin is missing the mark. He's going to visit the way that each generation misses the mark, that misses their promise, that misses their inheritance. He's going to do that. My husband and I did a quick little math. We were just curious this morning.
Because you're geeks.
It said that, because we're geeks like that, about 1450. And Erica, I want you and your husband to confirm this. I don't know, there's different places that say how long a generation is. So I'm not really, some say 20, some say 30 years, whatever. So I just want you to, I think we use 30, but it was around 1450 BC when it says that they started wandering, is what we looked at. This is just nerdy stuff. So you guys look it up and see if it's true or not. And then we have Yeshua was born. So we have about 1450 years, right?
Right.
So this is right about 49 generations has happened, which would be 7 times 7 generations. So he's saying, I'm going to complete this. I'm going to follow this through the generations to bring it to completion, because now we know that, it's not a coincidence that we're going to jump into from this report into intentional and unintentional sin. And then, randomly, there's a man collecting some sticks on the Shabbat. Was that random?
What?
No, it is not random. It is not random that this man is collecting sticks on the Shabbat. We have, this whole thing, Shabbat is a requirement of the land. When you go into the land, and so what you're going to do while you're in the wilderness, you're going to practice what you're going to do in the land.
Because it's going on in heaven.
Oh, wait. On earth as it is in heaven.
Yep.
That's what we're doing now. We are practicing what's going to happen in the land. In fact, when we get back to the garden, we get back to what were the promises. So we're practicing it. We're doing it as in honoring the land. We're honoring the gift. We're honoring all the things. And if we're not honoring the practices of the land, we're saying he's not sovereign. And the land doesn't need a rest when he says, the land I gave you, I want you to rest. I want the land to rest. I want everything to rest. And so this man is like, meh, we're not in the land yet. I don't have to do that yet. I'm just going to go get some sticks because I forgot to do it. And it was disregarding all the things. It was interesting, Brenda, with this guy. It doesn't say he wasn't, it's a long trip from wherever he was outside the camp collecting sticks to get to the Levites. I mean, I want you guys to think about that picture of like where everybody's camped.
Yeah.
So he's outside collecting some sticks for a fire, whatever. And then he has to, they would have gone through this practice. They know they had to say 2 witnesses saw him and they're like, dude, stop doing the sticks.
Stop
like,
picking sticks.
Stop picking up the sticks. And he's like, dude, I'm picking up the sticks. And so he just kept doing the stick thing. And they're like, man, you can't do the stick thing. So then they would have all came and got him and said, dude, you can't do the stick thing. And he's like, still doing the stick thing. They would have dragged his little hiney and his taters all the way into the Levitical camp.
Yeah.
Now it has to go to that level where Aaron and Moshe live. We're now taking you to the Levitical camp. And he's saying, for him to have got to that point, you guys, he was blatantly saying,
rebellious.
I'm not living in the land yet.
Yeah.
He was super rebellious. This wasn't a random guy picking some sticks up and, oh my gosh, I can't believe they stoned him.
No.
There's a reason that this is coming right alongside this whole perception of the land and perception of it's about saying he's not sovereign. He didn't really mean that. Oh, wait, did we hear this in Genesis? Is that what he really said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It was about rebellion. It was about him saying, I'm doing what I want to do.
Right. That's exactly what he was saying. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I don't care what you say.
I'm the boss of me.
I'm the boss of me. And I don't care if it's disrupting your Sabbath that you have to come out here and get me on your Sabbath, on your day of rest.
Right?
You have to come and get me and chase me down.
The whole community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I love how Moses and Aaron are like, man, we don't even know. Father, what do you want us to do? Let's go find out what God wants. What's going on?
This guy's, how did it get to us? Like, how did this stick guy get to us?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, this is the process. This is what we're doing.
Oh, wait.
I want to.
Can you just say that sticks are people?
Sticks are people.
Gathering people. He was gathering people.
No, we're doing.
I mean, he was gathering sticks, but he was gathering people because it was affecting the people. So
it was affecting the people, and they're like, well, if he can do it, I'm going to go get some. I'm going to go get some sticks too. And if he's doing it, then I'm going to go get some sticks, right? Oh, I'm going to get some sticks. So,
and it affects
if you guys
people.
ever hear, it does affect everyone around you. You
it's
think
community.
Rebellion doesn't.
It's community,
and your rebellion and your crazy affects everyone. And it's grace that people were killed. It wasn't evil. It wasn't mean.
No,
it was like, we have to take care of this because it's now affecting the whole camp. It got to us. It got to us. Sisters, there's stuff that get up to me in our community. And I'm like, really? Why do I know about this? Like, y'all deal with it. Like, why do I know about this? So now what has to happen now? I don't want to hit the delete button. Don't make me do this. I want you to stay. Can't y'all just get along? No, this is what's happening. I mean, Moses is like, not that I'm Moses, please, Lord, help me. I wrote down this something, Brenda, because I never understood what the fast of Av was. You guys might have heard tradition or traditional Jews, and maybe some of you honor the fast of Av, A-V.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually July 17th to 18th. It is not a biblical fast. It's completely tradition. Okay. I just want to underline all that and highlight, bold, underline, italics, exclamation point.
Mm-hmm. Tradition.
It's tradition, but it's interesting that all of this happened on the 9th day of the 5th month. And so Jews will fast because it's in remembrance of the fact that this was devastating, for this generation and for them not to do it again. but we don't learn our lessons. So if you go through and look at things that have happened in history on the 9th day
Ugh,
of the 5th month, things like Babylon burnt the temple on that
yeah,
day, burnt the temple down on that day. Zechariah mentions this
20.
in chapter 7, and in 8 he talks about this fasting and how the people will be weeping and fasting. But then in chapter 8 he talks about then there will be joy. He's referring
Mm-hmm.
to this. He's referring to this
Mm-hmm.
fast when he talks about the fast, and he's referring to this time period. And then Rome destroyed the temple on that day.
Mm-hmm.
That was the final
Yeah.
destruction of that temple, was on the 9th day of the 5th month. And then I did find there's a lot of them that may be insignificant to most people, but you can look it up. Nazis drafted and they implemented the final solution on the 9th day of the 5th month. Was that his grace that he allowed? He had to wipe things out because there was something in that generation. There was something in there that wasn't going to be able to move forward in the promise. We have to trust his sovereignty, that he allowed it to happen. That's that emunah, that's fully
Yes.
understanding
Yes.
that he is sovereign, guys. He is sovereign, 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 sovereign.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to
Right.
wrap back around to this. Can we come back to this and bring it home at the end of this, Brenda? Don't let
Mm-hmm.
us forget that.
Okay.
How does that imagine? What gifts has he given us in our lives? I want us to talk about that at the end.
Okay.
That we are not trusting the sovereignty about his gifts that he's given. And I love that you brought that scripture up. Brenda already talked about that the challah. You guys understand that when we make our challah on today, the word challah is actually not about that loaf of bread. The word challah is
Mm-hmm.
about that little piece. You would break 2 loaves because we do it 2 loaves now because we're doing it because they collected the manna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would collect the manna, and then they would have for 2 days. So we do 2 loaves. This is for things that I never ask anyone. I want to explain. You had the 2 loaves because it's representing that there was provision for 2 days. When they made the challah, when they made their bread, they would pull away the challah. Okay, they would pull away that challah, and that's a het, lamed, and a hay for you nerds. Het, lamed, hay. And it was a small portion was taken out, and then it was left out, and the Levitical community would come around and pick up the challah.
Mm-hmm.
They just come to the door and say, challah. No, I'm just kidding. They come to the door and they pick up all the challah, and then that's how they got provision, because right, they needed that's because they didn't have a means of working. So that's the way the community, again, is providing for the ministries, and that's what would happen. So remember that was the portion. There is we see that happening a lot of different things they would give, but that's one of the things. So we talked about stoning. There's no stoning now. We won't get stoned for breaking the Shabbat, because you know why? Because there's no Sanhedrin. There's no court with a judicial authority who can assign us the stoning.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do need is to know that the violation is real. The violation is saying the land isn't worth the rest.
Yeah. And nor are we, nor are you. Right? So you're saying that the people honoring the Sabbath, honoring the Shabbat, entering into this place of where God is your total provision, and whatever that looks like for each and every one of you. There's not a regulation that says this is how you have to do it, but what that looks like. When we do not put our feet on that, and when we do not walk that out, however that is that we walk it out according to however it is that the Holy One is speaking to you individually, then what we're saying is that you're not his and I'm not his, and we don't have to listen to what he has said, because he said that if we do that, the benefits of that will be that we will have intimacy with him and with each other and with the land. So why would we not? It's a matter of being his people. That's why we're in the wilderness. That's why we are circling in the desert. That's why we are not yet in the land, quote unquote. It's because we are learning how to be his people. And learning how to be his people means that we learn how to do what he says, even when we don't get it, when we don't understand it, if we're not sure. And he's not asking for perfection. He's asking that we put our feet to it, that we put our hands to it, that we say, yes, I will. That's what he's asking of us. So if you are not honoring, if you're not walking and having a Shabbat, if you don't know what that is, get with us, talk with us about it. Don't feel condemned. That's not what we're asking of you. But set your heart to honor him in the Sabbath and ask him what that means for you, and he will show you. Okay? Because it really does matter. It matters as a community, and it matters as a worldwide community. And that's kind of what this was all about. Don't you think, Charlie, that this was, I mean, I know that it was 12 people, quote unquote 12 people, but it was really 12 people that represent everyone. They're representing everyone. And so it was we were represented there. You understand? Our seed was there. And so
and we see Moshe like stepping in. We see so many pictures of Messiah in this. We see Moshe stepping up and saying, "Don't kill him." He intercedes,
Yeah.
"Don't kill him."
Yeah.
Why? Because he reminds him of the contract.
Yeah.
You know,
he
reminds them. Beautiful. It's beautiful to read, knowing that is him stepping up. We see also in this, which we don't have time to go into, we see in 15 about the outsider, and it says, "Whoever is among you in your generations to come." It talks about this. When people are saying, "This isn't for me, Torah is not for me," well, that's not what chapter 15 says. Chapter 15 says that everyone, it's a lasting statute throughout your generations. It's a lasting statute that it will apply to both you and the outsider residing among you. They didn't use the word Gentile then. They called it the outsider or the alien. That's what you're going to hear. It applies to everyone, and it's not a burden. It isn't a burden. It's life. You know what's a burden? Having a bunch of crazy people who don't have any faith in our God living around us. That's the burden. Of course they need to go. The burden is everyone in anarchy. That's a burden. Everyone, it's a burden. The burden, people think they're worried about following Torah. You follow more rules when you drive from your house to the grocery store than you do, I'm sure, in Torah. Like, let's count them all. The stop signs, giving the right-of-ways, watching out for the pedestrians, making sure you stay on the right side of the street, making sure that you don't cross over double yellow lines. I mean,
keep the speed down.
Make sure you park at the speed, all the different speed limits. Oh, and then I want you to park between two lines. I don't want to do that. I'm going to park wherever I want to. I'm going to park straight across 45 spaces because that's what I'm going to do. But why do we do all those things? Because we live in a community, and it would be crazy if we all just drove however we wanted to, whatever we wanted to. Like, I'm going to make my own little thing and drive it on the street.
Yeah.
And who cares?
What's that scripture? What's that scripture that says that there's the one that says that there is a way that, that men think that there's a way that looks really good to them, but that the ways are destruction. It's not the ways of the Lord. And that's kind of what you're saying, Charlie. Is like, man, it might seem good in the moment, but it's going to destroy the community. It's going to destroy being able to get along with your neighbor. And wait a minute, what did he say? Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor. What? Yeah. Really? Back to the loving your neighbor? Yes. We can't get away from it because this is about community. Yeah. It's about community.
And when you're put outside the camp, we see these intentional and unintentional sins when people are put outside the camp. You get put outside of the camp when you repent. Because that says, "Oh, I'm going to repent, and then I'm going to go make things better. And I'm going to spend some time in my timeout chair and think about what I've done, and let Dad speak life over me again." And I'm going to do that. And because I'm not fit for human consumption, because I have a strange spirit that might be affecting people around me. So I'm going to do that. But we know that Yeshua, he took care of it. He was a lamb slain before the foundation of the earth. He's our way back into the camp. Like, we get to spend time with him and get back in the camp. What's back in the camp? Just community. Sometimes he may be isolating you, and maybe you need to ask why. 2020 was about us being in a timeout, I think. And we need to receive it instead of rebellious people. We need to receive it as he was isolating us because he needed to deal with some things. And Brenda, my thought through this whole thing was, I told you, Dayenu. That's the word that's been like ringing through all week long. If you called me this week and said, "Hey, what's the Lord saying with you?" All I would have been able to tell you is Dianu.
Die,
That's all I knew.
die, a new, die,
Dianu.
die, a
Die,
new. Okay.
Dianu, die. Okay, so what is that song? The song is from Passover. And it said, when you go through all the things of a Haggadah Passover, and it says it would have been enough.
It would
That's
have.
what that was terminology. It would have been
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't give you one more thing today from now until the rest of your life that all you have is what you have. Would it be enough?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be enough? And that's what he's been, in my heart. He's like, just being in that place where you're like content, like Paul said, I'm content with much or little.
Yes.
Dayenu,
Yes.
whatever you give
Yes.
me, it will be enough. You are sovereign,
Mm-hmm.
and I trust that everything.
Yeah.
Brenda, what about our
Yeah.
gifts now?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I wanted to say in that I love that, Charlie, that may we all have that Dayenu heart today. Father, it would be enough. If nothing else, this would be enough. Thank you. And that we could be grateful. If we could turn our eyes to gratitude and to be grateful for what we have. And in that gratitude, these gifts, right? The gifts and callings of God are without what? Repentance. In other
Repentance.
words, he doesn't give him, he's not one who gives and then grabs it back and says, "Ah, here you go. Oh no, can't have it." He's not that way. Just like with the land, it was the gift. And it's the same with the gifts and callings of God on your life, ladies. He gives those freely. He gives them because that's who he is and what he wants from you, and he gives those to you and he doesn't take them back. Those are yours. What are you going to do with them? How are you going to go into the land and look around and see what it is? What are you going to see? How are you going to see with your eyes? How are those gifts going to affect your ears, your speech, your eyes, your hands, your feet? How is that going to happen? That's what he's after. Charlie, what are the gifts that God has called on to you that he has not taken back and that he is going to allow you to operate in? I mean, really, let's talk about that. What is it?
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you asking?
I am asking. I actually am asking. Yeah.
For me, I know for a lot of years, I had to like come to a crossroads with this exact question. Was
Hmm.
that like the gifts that he had given me? I thought it was too late. So he gave the
Hmm.
land to Abraham, Isaac. He gave it to Abraham, and then
Right.
it was spoken down through all the generations. And then there was
Yes.
400 years or however long they were in slavery
Right. Right.
that they didn't operate in that promise. They didn't operate in, we'll call it a gift. They didn't operate in the gift of the land. They
Right.
weren't holding on to the gift. For me, there was many years that I took a step down and I wasn't operating in the gift that I was
Right.
given.
Right.
But what I know is in repentance, I get to come back in the camp. I was thinking, God, do you still take that away? Sometimes he does. There's some things I probably will never get to do again that I know that he maybe has called me to do. But because of repentance and because of your having my face before the Lord, the gifts of administration, the gifts of I'm going to say evangelism. I'll use that as a broad baseness of
Hmm.
evangelism
I
and
love
teaching.
that.
Those gifts are things that I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to dig a hole and bury them anymore. Oh wait, hyperlink. I'm not going to dig a hole and put those in there. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I want to not, I want my children, of course, I think there's some things that have been passed down to my daughter and some things I pray, I'm excited to watch them happen with my
Yeah.
grandchildren. But what I know is that I personally, I'm not going to hide talents anymore, gifts, because I'm going to tithe those gifts. And right today, right now, I'm tithing my gift. Jen was really sweet. She said when she was co-hosting, she says, "Oh my gosh, it's like a part-time job. I'm just getting ready for Friday." And it was fun to it was like, oh gosh, we've been doing this so long. And even Brenda, you're like, I'm nervous today. It's been
I
a long
am.
time. It's
Yeah.
we get used to just like, oh, this is what I do. But really it's with because of his gifts. It's not us, but saying
Yeah.
I'm not hiding this. And so
Yeah.
we need you to give your gifts. That's
Yes,
why
we
we
do.
ask it. I know Simi is a great job at this. I want to see him shining through you. I want to say,
Right.
oh, I love how he works through her. I love how he
Yeah.
shines through her. Brenda, what are your
Yes.
gifts what about you?
Oh,
Tag.
hey, and yeah, tag. And the thing that's cool about gifts is yeah, we might miss opportunities. We might, I'm never going to be 25 again. And yeah, there can be missed opportunities, but the gifts and the callings of God are always going to be in me. There will be other opportunities, different things. That's how he redeems. It's so amazing. It might look different. We might miss options, things, but who we are and who he's called us to be, wow, we can actually have those things redeemed. It's beautiful. It's not too late, is in other words what I'm saying to you ladies. You're not too old, you're not too young, you're not too far away, it's not too late. The gifts and callings are in you because it's who you are. And he's calling them forth, right? So for me
Nobody can take them
personally,
away.
nobody can take them away because they're not theirs. They're given by God. And remember, he's sovereign. Okay, he's sovereign.
And you can't sell them at the garage sale. You're not allowed to do that. You can't give
No.
that away.
For me, I think that for me, some of the gifts that he has given to me that, in circumstances in our lives, sometimes we think, well, my circumstances don't allow me to use my gifts. That's not really true. They might look a little different, but they're still there. So I have had things that have been on hold for a while, but have they really? Or are they brewing? Or are they being perfected? Are they being trained up? I think that's more of what it is. So gifts for me, I don't even know what to say. I think sharing, writing, some of the gifts. I think one of the gifts is that I love people so much, and that my heart is truly, truly to see people walking in the things of God for their life individually. And I get to do that no matter where I am or what I'm doing. It doesn't require any other platform except for me to be breathing, right?
Yep.
And I really do believe that he will allow you to use your gifts, even if your gift is speaking and you're not a conference speaker yet in the moment. You are still, that gift is still brewing within you. So just be who you are right where you are and practice who he says you are right where you're at, even if it's just in your mirror. I mean, come on, guys. I'm sure that you could do it too. Prophesy to yourself. Speak life to yourself. Look in the mirror. Speak life. You are created by the King of the universe. You are so special to him that he sent his son to carry the burden that you would never be separated from him ever again. He has spoken life into you and caused your DNA to be exactly, uniquely made, exactly who you are, because you are special to him. He called you forth before the beginning of the world. He called you forth in your mother's womb before your mother was even born. Ha! He knew your name. He knows the hairs on your head. So you cannot tell me that you individually are not special and unique and precious to him. You are. And look at the links that he goes to speak life to you and bring you his word, his truth. He will hunt you down for generations upon generations, and your kids too, because he loves you. So his love is so amazing. Speak it to yourself. If you're all alone, speak it to yourself. I am loved by the creator of the universe. He loves me individually. He has knit me and holds me together every moment. That's how precious I am to him. You don't have to have an audience. You can be the audience. Speak life to yourself. And when he gives you an audience, speak life to them too. Grab a hold of the person that you meet at the grocery store and smile at them and love on them, even if it's just to say hello. We think that we have to wait until we step on a stage. No, we don't. You are who you are right this moment. And everything in you, God has created for this moment in time, right here, right now. in the midst of your circumstances. Remember that even in the midst of your circumstances, if you see with eyes of the Spirit, you will see that the giants that are scaring you and the crowds that are causing you to be fearful, that those things are only in alive because God has allowed them to be. Remember who is your king, who is protecting you, whose cloud is covering you, and just step in. He said that the land is yours to take. He didn't say, I'm going to remove all the giants and then you can take the land. He said the land is yours right now, right here, right now. The land is yours. So wherever you are, whatever's going on with you, right here, right now, he is for you. Right here, right now. Nothing needs to change except your heart toward him. See him and trust him. And you can do that because that's who you are.
I think Brenda, you hit on something so hard right here. That was so powerful. We're not adding to that. As women, we live in a, and we're closing that we live in a comparison. We look
Yes, we
on
do.
Facebook, we're comparing someone's highlight reels to our worst day.
Yeah.
We compare
Yeah.
ourselves constantly. That is no different than walking into the land and saying these giants are too big.
Yeah, that's exactly
These
what it
people,
is, Charlie.
every time
Yes.
you compare, I can't do that because ... I'm not as good as her because ...
Yeah.
I'm a
Right.
horrible this because ...
Right.
Whenever we compare or the situation, what we see could be the truth, but what are you thinking about the situation? And we
Right.
need to take those thoughts captive,
Absolutely.
submit them to the knowledge of who we are in him.
Mm-hmm.
And if whose we are, right? We take those
Yes.
thoughts captive and say the situation isn't changed. Whatever your situation, your health,
Yeah.
your financial situation,
Right.
your spiritual situation. Well, I'm not as
Right.
smart as them. I don't know what they know.
Right.
Yeah, you do. It's written in your DNA. You just need to fan the flame. We'll help you. There's time.
That's why you're here.
That's why you're here.
And that's why you're here. That's why all of you are here. Fan the flames.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Chris, fan the flames.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a he's wanting us to do that. He's wanting us to take these thoughts captive so that we don't
Yes, he
bring those
is.
back to the camp and
Right.
poison the community.
Yeah, and discourage the others around us. That's not our
Mhm.
job. That our job is not to
Lashon
discourage
hara.
around us. Uh-uh.
We learned about Lashon hara, and it was
Yeah.
about grumbling and gossiping and speaking. It's all it's evil speech. It's all coming out of our mouth.
Yeah.
Capture it while it's in your head, and don't let it come out your mouth. If your eye's looking at something that's causing you, when he says pluck it out, it's this is a hyperlink. If I'm
Yeah.
looking at something and I'm like, remember I told you guys, if I went to the model homes and it was causing every time I looked at or HGTV and it was causing me then to look at things and it was causing me to not be discontent,
Yeah.
to grumble. My heart to hurt.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Then my mouth will start saying things that aren't hurtful. And then what do? I poison my home. So I had to cut that out. What in your life is causing? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
That's you're allowing to get into, instead of taking the thoughts captive, now you're letting it get in your heart. It's coming out your mouth and you're poisoning your homes
Yeah.
because you're not saying, my king owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He's just got to sell a cow if he wants to. I mean, like this, if he needs me to have something, he'll give it to me. He is sovereign over my life, over my circumstances. Brenda, would you pray for everyone as we'll
Yes.
close this recording and go over to our party and we can chat with all of you. There's a lot of hands were up, and so
Great.
we'll chat. We'll answer all the questions over in the after party. If you're on Facebook, you can still not too late jump on over with us. We won't be recording, but we'll be chatting, and y'all can do the talking.
Mm. Oh, Holy One, we just honor you right now as a group, as a community. We just honor you and we thank you. Our hearts are filled to overflowing with gratitude for your goodness and your mercy. We thank you that that your loving kindness pours over us. We thank you, Father, that you visit us and our generations and you will never let us go. We thank you, Father, that you put us into circumstances that cause our eyes and our flesh to rise up and our spirits to stand and arise and to call out to our flesh to be quiet. Thank you that you train us up in the midst of our circumstances. Thank you that we have sisters who love us and who will stand with us and link arms with us across the world, and brothers and sisters, Father, throughout the earth. Today, Father, I thank you for every single woman that's hearing the voices here. Every single one, Father, I pray your blessing upon them. I pray your fruitfulness upon them. I pray, God, that whatever the circumstances are of their life, that they will be able to see through the midst of that fog and see your light shining brightly, that their eyes would be lifted up today and there would be encouragement pour over their heads, and they would see you, Father, that they would be able to reach out and see you and reach the hem of your garment. I pray, God, that you would allow them to feel the cloak of your presence upon them and comfort. I thank you for Charlie and for the portion, for all of the women that are here. I ask, God, your blessing upon them in every way possible, and all of the things that are not being said, and all of the questions, Father, that you will answer them and direct them and guide them, each and every one. We pray in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, our Lord and Messiah. Amen.
Amen.
Love you guys so much. Love you
Welcome back,
so
friend.
much. Hey, it's nice to be back. I love you guys.
Welcome
Let's go to the
back.
after
Welcome
party.
back. Yes.
Welcome
yes.
back. Oh, sorry. Sorry.